So tonight we have a youthful, vibrant, no-nonsense go-getter. I'm talking Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General of the Orange Democratic Party. From a legal background straight into politics and a family man, this is his story on the hot seat. Tonight on the hot seat, we have a youthful Secretary General of one of the leading parties, if not the leading party of Kenya, ODM, Secretary General Edwin Sifuna. Welcome to the hot seat, Sifuna.
Thank you very much for having me, Jackie. It's an honor.
It's an honor.
Yes.
Let's start with who exactly is Sifuna? How exactly did you rise to become the Secretary General of Orange Democratic Party?
Well, Sifuna is an advocate of the High Court. I started working with the party by basically offering my services as a lawyer because I believe that it is a party that I bought into the ideology of a party very early on. I believe that the party seeks to establish a society that is equitable and fair, that creates opportunity for everyone. So it was very attractive to me, and I decided to start offering my services. At that particular time, we had a coalition called CODE, and the team was putting together a technical advisory team. And I was very honored that back then the Secretary General of the party, Honorable Nyong'o, gave me the opportunity to be part of that team. And that is how I began. So this was about 2014 there, and when it came to around 2016, 2017, I actually decided that I was going to attempt to be a candidate for the party for election in Kandui constituency, where I come from. But then I was not able to secure the party's ticket. I came back to Nairobi to continue my work as an advocate, but then one day sitting in my office, I received a call that the party was going to consider me for the Senate ticket in Nairobi to run against the Jubilee candidate. So I had a very short time to campaign here, but I'm very proud of the work that we did. And because of the strength of the party in Nairobi and the campaigns that we ran, I was able to get about 700,000 votes, and I think from that particular process, I was able to convince the leadership of the party that I could actually do this job as Secretary General. So in February of 2018, after the elections, the National Governing Council of the party asked me to be the SG of the party, and I was very honored to accept. And I believe that the record that I have so far set since February of 2018 to now is about 2.5 years. I believe there's some work that I have put in, and I will leave it to the membership of the party to be able to rate my work as SG so far.
So how do you feel as a young leader, so to speak, being a Secretary General, of course, of a very powerful party?
Yes.
The role of the youth and how the youth is generally being taken in the country. We have 7.7% representation of youth in Parliament. Is the government, you feel, pro-youth or against youth?
First of all, I must say that part of the reason that ODM was very attractive to me is that this is a party that actually gives young people opportunity to participate in the political affairs of the party at the very highest level. When I was appointed SG in 2018, I was actually 35 years old. I was still within the bracket of youth as defined by our constitution, but also that you know that the UN Charter puts youth at maybe before you hit 40, up to 40. So right now I'm 38 years old, and I am at the helm of a fairly large party. We like to think of ourselves as the biggest party in this region. It is a very interesting conversation when you have even within political parties that I had certain observations when I was working with the party before I became an official. Most times young people would not be given the sort of prominence that we expect them to be given, even during meetings. I remember one incident at Manzoni. We had actually the leadership of the Youth League was in that meeting, and the meeting went on, and then at the conclusion of the meeting, we were actually praying for the lunch. Then somebody remembered, oh, by the way, the youth have not spoken. And you see, to me, it left an impression on me, and I decided that even when I was in that age bracket, I refused to join the youth league, which is usually like a separate part of the main party. I actually believe that as young people, we must be on the main table. Yeah, because on this main table, all these issues, all these things that happen in this country affect us because we are the biggest, group of or demography in this country. So I made a deliberate effort that I was not going to be in the youth league so that I speak at the end of the meeting when we were praying for food. I want to be on that main table. And I thank people like the party leader, Raila Odinga, because for Raila, for as long as you have contributions to make on that main table, your age really doesn't matter. When I tell you that I was put on this NASA technical team, if you look at the names that were around that table, they are heavy names. And sometimes it can be very intimidating for you as a young person. But also the thing that I advise young people is that when you insist on being on that table, the moment you get that opportunity to be on the table, you have to have things that you're bringing to the table. You have to contribute to the discussion, to the ideas, and not just to be there to represent a certain demography or to make up the percentage. So I usually give the example that on the day when Raila Odinga calls you and says, we are addressing the country tomorrow, what should we tell them? You should know that with power comes responsibility. You should know that at that moment when the party leader is looking to you to actually give ideas, you must have those ideas. So it is not just about making up the numbers. I believe that young people should not see their age as a qualification for anything. Don't fight for this allocation of seats for young people or for women. Just be people of substance who have merited to be able to sit on any table and or on any seat, so that you can hold your own even when questions are put to you that are heavy. How you deal with them is not a reflection of whether you are a woman or whether you are young. So I encourage young people that it is who you are, the contribution you bring to the table, that is going to determine where you sit and how far you get.
But Sifuna, let me just interject. It can be argued that there's a lot of lip service in that conversation.
Yes.
We keep asking the youth, your time is now, your time is now.
Yes.
Be present at the table.
Yes.
But you know how we say kwa ground vitu ni different.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Has the time for the youth come?
Yes.
Are the youth stepping up
Yes.
to these responsibilities? Can
Yes.
we have more representation
Yes.
from the youth? Can we have the youth stepping up to these positions?
Yeah.
Basically, has the time for the youth come?
I think the time for the youth has come. Just like I said, youth in itself, of its own, is not a qualification for anything. It's also not a disqualification for any position. If you have the right set of mind, the right thinking, your view of things is progressive, I believe you can make it. What I want to also acknowledge is, because traditionally young people and even women have not been given opportunity to participate meaningfully in economic activities and social issues and even in politics, we have to undertake some affirmative actions in order to present these opportunities to young people. Like for us at the party, we know that we have set very deliberate targets. We want to be the first party in the next general election to meet the gender threshold in terms of the people we get elected to parliament. And it's not lip service, Jackie. I will give you a very recent example. We just reconstituted our National Elections Board and our disciplinary committee. Of the 10 members of those two committees, 6 are women, and inclusive of young women who have taken up those positions. So if we have set ourselves that target, we believe that you must create a platform for identification of young leaders, for identification of women leaders. So where are these platforms? Because for me, I know for a fact that in the political space, you are not going to come from nowhere as a young person and then get an opportunity to address the main rally at Uhuru Park on the last day of the campaigns. It's not going to be possible. So what do? We create forums that we can actually spot this talent. If you have regular engagements, you plan youth meetings in the sub-counties, all the 290 constituencies, in the wards. So a person who has never addressed a room of 100 people cannot address a rally of 100,000 people.
Absolutely.
So you create those small forums, and you go and take the top leadership of a party and sit them there. Let them hear and listen to these people, because also people want to shine before or in front of people who matter, so that when we are sitting back here in Nairobi as a central committee of a party, we can ask each other, by the way, who was that lady in Lamu who spoke so well? We believe that if we can be able to offer support to somebody who has such a head on her shoulders, she can actually be a leader of today. You understand? I also have a target as the SG of a party to meet the gender quota. If you are not aware, there is already a decision of the High Court that now the political parties, when you present your entire list of people you have given tickets in the 290 constituencies, that list must meet the gender threshold. It must meet the representation of young people and even the people with disabilities. So as ODM, we understand that that responsibility has been put to us. So where do we get these people? We are going to have to create the space so that young people can feel that they have opportunity through ODM to be able to compete effectively in political parties. And I want to encourage them, by the way. ODM is the only party that is deliberately doing these things, so that when you look at the top leadership of a party, I think we are the only party that has a young leadership. I am the youngest SG in the region. So you should join a party that has people who look like you, who can sit down with you and guide you to reach the same levels that we have reached. We can hold your hand and open the door to more young people like myself to be able to also join the party. We want to have a youthful leadership in this country, but at the end of the day, Kenyans will not remember your age. They will only remember what you have done, what contribution you've made. The few people, including myself, who are young and in leadership positions, have a very big responsibility. Because if I mess up, they always say, yes, you young people, you cry, you want opportunities, look at how you're behaving. The members of parliament who are elected as young people, they have a huge responsibility to be able to demonstrate that young people given opportunity can actually deliver. So the criticism that is leveled against women, for instance, in parliament is, yes, we created these 45 positions for women rep. What have they delivered? These young people cry all the time, oh, they want positions. At one time, even the president admonished us and said the reason why he went for an octogenarian to head a board is because young people, when you're given opportunity, you mess things up. So the few of us who are in these positions have a responsibility to our entire generation to try and fight this stigma against young people, to make sure that as SG, I can actually do certain things and deliver to my political party, and people can point and say, yes, young people given opportunity, they can actually deliver.
But, and I want to hold you to account.
Yes.
Your party leader a few days ago is on record,
yes,
saying that, quote unquote, the problem with having youthful representation is that their focus is on the money.
Yes.
Nyinyi young, my youth
Yes.
them, my
Yes.
youth them.
Yes.
Mnapenda pesa sana.
Yes. Now,
And this is a position that is coming from your own party leader.
you see, we have to be honest with each other, Jackie. If you go to a doctor, you tell him the truth about your condition, so that they don't treat malaria, yet you have another problem. So we have to be honest to each other, even as a generation. We live in different times from the times of our parents. Money has become central to everything. It is not just politicians that are accused of, putting money ahead of everything else. I have seen even criticism to journalists of your generation now. People are saying that you are not the same standard and caliber of the people who used to write the weekly review. You understand? Yeah, we live in different times. Money and materialism has become central to our way of life. What I do not agree with is blanket condemnation of a generation. Our generation cannot be measured with the same yardsticks of the previous generations. So, for instance, I find it very unfair for you to say that the current crop of young politicians is not the same as the people who fought for the second liberation, for instance. There is nothing that proves or shows that we as a generation could not have fought Moi. You see, we can't fight the battles of 1990. We have our own struggles right now, and they are as valid struggles as the struggles of 1990. What is the current generation grappling with? We have very serious issues of unemployment, access to opportunities. The population has increased. Life has become extremely expensive. So everybody is trying to better themselves. If you are a greedy young person, you are just a greedy young person. I don't think it is fair to blanket condemn and say that, everybody is like that. So that's why I was telling you that the few of us who have gotten opportunity to be in leadership positions owe it to the entire generation to demonstrate that, first of all, we have capacity and ability to be able to undertake any sort of role that you are given, and that if somebody akona tabia zake mbaya, you should not ascribe it to everyone else in that generation. Yes.
Right. So here on the hot seat, what we like to do is tell our stories.
Yes.
And I want to take you back to your story.
Yes.
Your father is a politician. Right?
Not really.
Or was a politician or was in politics?
I think people always assume that Lawrence Sifuna is my dad. Lawrence Sifuna is actually my uncle. He's my dad's brother. My dad himself is a very reserved guy. He's not a politician per se. But of course, our family is very political. My uncle Lawrence has been in politics for a very long time. I think even before I was born. My first experience with politics was, I think, 1988. I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
During during the Mlolongo elections. You know, these young people might forget that before we had ballot boxes, people used to line up behind the candidate they prefer, and the provincial administration would count. Absolutely. There was a lot of problems with that system. So in 1988, I just remember, I think people were crying that Lawrence had lost. Yeah, and it was a terrible time. I think that was the first time. And then, of course, in the 90s, 92, I was actually living with him in Kakamega during the multi-party times. I remember the first time seeing people like Martin Shikuku when they came to Buhungu Stadium, and so on and so forth. So he has been a big influence on my life even now. He's still a very big influence. But now he's just a chilled out guy. He's at home there. He's watching now the next generation of leaders and trying to encourage and guide us as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So from Kandui constituency,
yes,
Nairobi senatorial bid,
yes,
Secretary General of
yes,
the ODM party,
yes,
Sifuna 2022.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
I think I'll give you the same answer that my party leader has guided us, that really it is not yet time for us to engage ourselves into the politics of 2022. In fact, Jackie, what my experience in 2017 taught me is that a day in politics is very long.
It is very
You can imagine that I spent about 3 years campaigning in Kandui constituency, and yet I was not on the ballot in Kandui. I ended up in Nairobi 2 or 3 months to the election. So it is two years out. I believe that I still have very serious work to do in terms of reforming ODM to be able to win back the faith of our supporters. ODM is a people's movement. It's a mass movement. And there are things that we have done to diminish the stature of a party that we need to correct. All these things are self-inflicted, which is why when I was appointed the SG, the first duty I did was to put together this task force to review the performance of the party from the 2012 election to the 2017 election, and to hear from our members what they believe we have done wrong that has seen us reduce our numbers even in parliament. So that report is like my Bible. I have only 2 documents on my desk: the party constitution and the task force report by the Catherine Muma task force. We have, as a party and as a leadership, been able to convince all the highest organs of the party that we need to do right by our members if we are going to return ODM to the place that it was. And you can go and look for feedback yourself from even people who are former members of ODM. They are seeing that there are certain things that are changing within the party. We had to sort out our party primaries, and you have seen in previous by-elections that the reforms that we have put in place have actually borne fruit. Everybody expected, for instance, in Kibera to have like a violent nomination exercise there, but it was done so well that even people in the media who had already written the headlines had to withdraw the headlines because they were in shock. And you see, the problem we also have is that people don't like to give credit where it's due. But for us, we will focus. If we sort out our issue of nominations, our members also were very clear that the coalition that we got into called NASA cost us seats. You will know that in places like Nairobi here, we lost Langata, which is essentially an ODM seat, because of this coalition politics. Even when you go down to the ward level, we lost seats because of this sibling rivalry here. So what have we done? We have listened to the members of ODM. They said they wanted a new National Elections Board. Today, as we speak, we are inaugurating the new National Elections Board. We have a new and revamped secretariat. We have new procedures. We have new rules. We have done everything that they have asked us. And we believe that with all these things, we're going to restore back the faith of our supporters to come back to the party. And they are coming back in droves because they can see that there are certain things that are changing. But once we do all these things, because these things, like for instance, free and fair nominations, don't just depend on the preparation of the party. They also depend on the conduct of our members, the conduct of the aspirants and their supporters. The people who kick ballot boxes are not any party officials. It is the aspirants and their supporters. So if we have done all this work and we have won back the confidence of our people, we also want to reach out to our supporters now to support these efforts. If you wanted a party that listens to you, that conducts itself in an open and transparent manner, you also have to support the efforts that we have put in.
All right. You mentioned coalition politics, yes, so to speak. Very recently, you're on record.
Yes.
There was, I'd say, a war of words, so to speak, with Kalonzo Musyoka, who has been, one of your coalition members. What is that about? Like, are you saying that ODM is going to stand on its own? There's not going to be any NASA? Is there no agreement with the Wiper Party? Yeah. What is happening?
First of all, I need to clear this notion that somehow we are engaged in a war of words. What people need to understand is that the constitution of ODM places upon every member a responsibility to combat propaganda that is detrimental to the interests of a party. The word used in that constitution is combat, not argue with or deal with. Or combat means combat. So when you see a statement from the Secretary General, I am following what my constitution tells me. And we don't wake up one day and issue a statement on Wiper. It is usually a reaction. We need to combat this propaganda that is put out. For instance, when they wake up and say there's a secret deal between our party leader and him. When that deal does not exist, it is my responsibility as the SG to combat that propaganda. And we do it in a combative style because this is what our constitution demands. So, and I have told you that I treat the task force report as my Bible as the SG of ODM. If I open the chapter on what the people said about the NASA coalition, these are members of ODM. They are instructing the party to disengage from NASA. It is there in black and white. If you go to places like Western Kenya, in a place like Bungoma, and you speak to members of ODM, they will tell you that you need to unyoke us from this coalition thing called NASA. Because in Western Kenya, these so-called political partners of ours, they essentially cannibalized ODM. What they usually do, or used to do, is to make certain demands that in exchange for our supporting you for the presidential seat, You will not, for instance, field candidates in Bungoma. You will allow us to run the affairs of the coalition in Bungoma. So what that essentially means is that ODM inafinyiliwa huko, it actually dies off kabisa, because everybody now, everything now is being run by Ford Kenya in Bungoma. So they instructed us and said, we don't want to be in a coalition with Ford Kenya. The same thing happened here in Nairobi. We lost Langata because of Wiper. The Jubilee candidate won by 1,000 votes from our candidate, the ODM candidate, yet the Wiper candidate had 5,000 votes. And what is painful to our members is that we as ODM ceded certain seats across the country for these coalition partners to give them an opportunity to win. I will give you the example of Garissa Township, where ODM stood down its candidate to give Farah Maalim of Wiper a good opportunity to actually beat Duale. We did the same here in Kamkunji. Our candidate was stepped down. In Mombasa, our Wiper so-called friends, they gave us hell because they insisted on running somebody against our deputy party leader in Mombasa, and they could not be talked to. Edwin Sifuna, when I was running in Nairobi, Kalonzo Musyoka had a candidate against me. If Sakaja beat me by 150,000 votes, yet the Wiper candidate was getting 80,000 votes, don't you see that they were taking away from us? So it is clear in the report that our members have said ODM will not enter into coalitions with any political party that operates where we operate, because we don't want to be cannibalized. We want to grow. We want a partner that will open doors to ODM in places that we do not exist. So if you are a party, for instance, that operates in central Kenya, where traditionally ODM has not been able to penetrate largely, we will welcome you. But if you are a political party that plays in Western, that is our arena. In Coast, that's our arena. In Nyanza, that's our arena. In Nairobi, that's our arena. We are not going to get into coalitions with you, period. Now, we have also been very clear, and the party leader has made it quite clear, that NASA is dead. NASA is dead, and it was killed and strangled by these characters. It is not us. Yeah. So we have to be honest and real with each other. For us to be able to now move on as a political party, we have to leave behind the baggage that was slowing us down, which is why we have said that we believe that now ODM is lighter on our feet. We're able to do things here and there because we are not bogged down by these so-called consultations with the coalition partners. They have made noise about money, and we have spoken on these issues so extensively, sometimes it's even draining, because we had an agreement with these people that because they quote-unquote support our presidential candidate and can rightly claim that there are some votes that they brought to Raila, when the registrar is calculating how much money a political party receives, they take into account the presidential votes as well. How many votes did your presidential candidate get? They allocate some money because of that. Yeah. Now we have a unique situation in 2017 where the results from the August 8th election were annulled by the Supreme Court. Yes. And in the repeat election, we did not participate. Now, the Registrar of Political Parties is saying they cannot use the August 8th elections because you can't recognize something that was annulled by a Supreme Court. And they are using the result of the repeat election on 26th of October, which we did not participate in. So what that does mean, ODM does not receive money for the presidential vote, which these people could rightly claim to have contributed to. We receive money for the votes that people like me got for my Senate run, our MPs, our governors, and so on and so forth. That is not money you can claim from us. So we have been advised by Honorable Raila Odinga in his last interview. He said, as leaders of the party, the Secretary General, we sit down and have a conversation. I'm waiting for these people. You know, like, I don't even know how much money these people are claiming from ODM and the basis. So I am waiting for my friend, Honorable Eseli Simiu, who is the SG of Ford Kenya. And now I see ANC have no SG. My sister Sijeni, wherever she's ready with documents, they say we are claiming 10 million or 20 million from ODM, and this is the basis. I will give them the money. But in the absence of, you know, they say in law, he who alleges must prove. If you allege that I owe you money, you must show me. Yeah, so that's what we're waiting for.
Even as, you know, you sort out your coalition issues, As SG
Yes.
of ODM,
Yes.
which, you know, you will stand here and claim is the biggest political party in the country.
It's not a claim. It's a fact.
It's not a claim.
That you can always check. Yes.
For the common Mwananchi
Yes.
that is watching,
Yes.
are we bracing ourselves for a Raila presidency?
Now, as I've said, first of all, the standing instruction, this is a standard reply. We are not going to discuss 2022. But as the SG of ODM, I can tell you for a fact, since this party was formed in 2005, at every general election, ODM has had a presidential candidate. It is not going to stop when Edwin Sifuna is SG. So members of the party must know that ODM, given our standing in the region as the largest party, there is no way we can go into an election without a presidential candidate.
But you will not say if it's a Raila presidency.
No, you see the beauty, the beauty with ODM is that I think this is the only political party that has the talent for everything.
Yes.
I believe that we have the best reporters are members of ODM. I don't want to mention names. The best lawyers are members of ODM. The best engineers, the best Juakali artisans are there in ODM. We have talent, so that by the time we get into the 2022 election, in fact, if there is a party that is spoiled for choice in terms of presidential candidates, it's us. Others have only one. I hear they are changing their constitution to say, oh, it must be so and so. CC, in fact, it is a big headache to select, you know, from all this pool of talent, who do we put where? Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So as we wind up, Sifuna, for those that are young and, you know, aspiring to be where you are,
Yes.
sit where you sit, how do you, at this age,
Yes.
and with such responsibility on
Yes.
your back, balance work life, family life? You're a family man.
Yes.
How do you balance that? And how is it that, you know, you can be seen in the limelight, and at the end of the day you still have to go home?
Correct.
To a family?
Yes.
And be, you know, gentle, I believe.
Yes.
How do you balance all that?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day you have to compartmentalize your life, because like when I go home, I have a young daughter, she's 3. She doesn't know that I am SG of ODM. She just knows that this is daddy. So when you get home, you are a different person in the house. I am still a practicing advocate, because you still have to run your hustle. What people don't know is that I have never stopped practicing as a lawyer, because that is the only place you make money. Being SG of ODM does not make money. It's just a political position. Yeah. So I still have my law firm. I run my law firm. I try to make money representing people in court and doing other stuff as a lawyer. When you go home, you are a father, you are a husband. You are able to, you know, now do that on the weekend. Like now, because of this corona, politicians are a bit confused when it comes to the weekend. We don't know what to do with ourselves. So you find something to do, because now the political engagements have been scaled down largely. But young people must be encouraged, because everything you do in life, when you begin, is the heavy lifting is when you start. When nobody knows you and you're trying to grow your name as a politician, it's very, very difficult. But it is the same in all spheres. Even when you are starting as a journalist, whether you are starting as a medical practitioner, anything in your household, the initial days are the ones that are difficult. But you must commit to a cause. Commit to a cause, so that in the end, all the years of struggle that you've put in will actually pay off. But the thing that will get you ahead is who you are as an individual, your skills, your attitude, and your ability.
And picking from that, your skills, your abilities, and young people must be encouraged. Right now with the pandemic, you see we have initiatives like Kazi Mtaani. But look at what it's doing. You know, youth are being told to clean up estates. Is this really where we are placing our youth? We don't have, because some of them are arguing that it's like we don't have value for them. Cleaning up estates, Sifuna, slashes. Yeah,
but this is the unfortunate bit, Jackie, is you have to be realistic about the situation you are in. Number one, if you go back to the thinking behind even this Kazi Mtaani, I am telling you, if I was to open my inbox for you, we have people with degrees we have people with experience, nini, but because of the current situation with our economy, it was bad enough even before the pandemic. It has been worsened by the pandemic. People have lost jobs. You have people with serious education background and even experience saying, Sifuna, I want to come and brush your shoes. I'm telling you, because that is the situation. Yes, the situation is dire. People are saying, if you can just even allow me to be the one sweeping Orange House. Of course, there are already young people who do those things. But you can imagine the sort of situation somebody has to be in and desperation that they are able to even tell you, if I am just the one who will come to carry your bag, Jackie, and give me 100 shillings at the end of the day so that I can go home and buy unga for my kids. It is not something to be trivialized. It was just even the thinking behind this program was to be able to just put money in the hands of these people who are in a desperate, position. We have had engagements even with young people. We have to work for a society that is able to take care of its people. A society should be able to educate you, and it should be able to, after that education, provide you with opportunity to advance yourself. We have to have a conversation with our young people to understand how jobs are created, because everybody just seems to think that probably it is a responsibility of government to employ all of us. It's not going to work. Government should be able to create an enabling environment for investments to happen. When the economy is doing so badly that, and it is for various reasons, our government has put in place a system that is so difficult for investors to come and register companies, to set up premises and so on and so forth. We have lost companies that came here trying to set up shop because of corruption. From the time that you land at the airport, somebody is trying to squeeze money from you. When you hear that this project is worth this much, before your factory is approved by NEMA and all these other needs, you're being given bills left, right and center. There's tax for what. That's now the role of government. They should be able to create an environment, like you have had people singing praises about Rwanda, that you can be able to walk into one building and get all the permits and licenses that you need to set up your business. The government facilitates you to set up. When one factory closes, let me just give you the example of a company like Nakumat. I don't want to be sued, but everybody knows why Nakumat collapsed. How many families were affected by the closure of Nakumat? When banks like, I don't want to mention the name, when they were downscaling, the small branch that they had in Narok now is being closed. How many positions are being lost? Those are the positions that would have been available for these young people to be able to be incorporated in formal employment. So there is a lot of things that can be done to create the right environment to create the opportunities that our young people need. But the fact of the matter is, it is not only Kenya that is struggling out of this pandemic. We had our own original sin, which is our our own state as Kenyans, issues to do with bureaucracy, issues to do with corruption and all those things. Then it has been exacerbated by the pandemic. Every country is struggling with this pandemic. We don't know how we are going to extricate ourselves, how people are going to look like at the end of it all. But whatever opportunity is there, Jackie, to put food on your table, you should take it.
Yeah?
Yeah, you should take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With your background in law and politics,
yes,
what's the one thing you would probably go back in time and change about yourself?
I think there's very few, very little.
You're happy with
I am happy because what I am and what I have been in the past is what has set me up for even now and in the future. Every experience that you go through in this life leaves you a better person, by the way. One thing that young people don't like to hear, it's a very unpopular opinion, is that we sometimes discount the value of experience. When you are young, there is this feeling that you are full. You have everything that you need at that particular moment in time, and you think that anything that is thrown your way you can actually deal with. But I'm telling you, with the benefit of experience, that you have tried something before and you have failed. It's the same thing in politics. Right now, I don't think there is any situation in terms of siasa that you can throw me in that I have not been in before. I have been a candidate for the ODM ticket, nikaona ikinyang'anywa. Sasa sasa mimi ndio napeana hizo certificate. I am now on this other side. I can be able to know what the situation is. So all the experiences that we've gone through in the past are what constitute who we are today and set you up for the future.
Edwin Sifuna.
Yes.
Mr. SG.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the hot seat.
Asante sana.
We cannot shake hands, so I'll teach you, or we can namaste.
Yes.
Or I can teach you like your fist bumping, but like that.
Oh, okay.
So,
India ya vijana.
like this. Thank you so much for coming on the hot seat.
Thank
Sifuna.
you for having me.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.